Hey athletes, your coach Adam here to give you a basic overview of working out with kettlebells. I'll go over some do's and don'ts and demonstrate the 6 best basic kettlebell exercises that every beginner should refine before graduating to complex combinations and flows. You may have noticed that they've become more popular lately, largely due to the greater access to online learning. For a long time up until then, most people shied away because they didn't know how to use them with correct form and they didn't want to risk getting hurt, which I can understand. But now there are no more excuses. I personally love kettlebells for my own workouts because it's one of the few tools of strength that makes me feel more like an athlete and less like a meathead. So I either start or finish every workout with them as a reminder to my body's fast switch fibers to stay on board, because if you don't use them, you lose them. There are many ways that make kettlebells suitable for you as an athlete for life. One is that when you use the kettlebell in an explosive manner, it allows you to get all of the benefits of plyometrics, but without the negative impact to your joints, because you're not leaving the ground. So there is tremendous carryover in improving your athletic performance, while at the same time promoting the durability of your body. Kettlebells are different from traditional weightlifting and in many ways better. To start, many kettlebell exercises are dynamic in that they can build strength and power where traditional weight training has more limitations. There's also a whopping conditioning effect that takes place. Because of this, you can get more done in less time. Kettlebells allow for a freer range of motion that's better for your joints than using a straight bar. Another benefit is that the position of the bell allows its center of mass to be more in line with your joints when doing presses and get-ups than with a dumbbell or a straight bar. This allows your joints to have more precision and stabilization and without the unnecessary stress. I found the kettlebell to be an excellent self-teaching tool through its rotational ability in exercises such as cleans and snatches, because it provides great feedback when it makes contact with the back of your wrist. This helps to refine your timing and precision, which is a hallmark of being an athlete. Lastly, the nature of the kettlebell swing trains the flow of tension and relaxation of your muscles that's needed in all athletic movement to be both quick and powerful. Some people are intimidated by kettlebells, and this is for good reason. Like any exercise, if done incorrectly, they can lead to potential injury. But poor form in any exercise can cause issues. Running, lunging, squatting, and push-ups are amongst the many exercises that I've seen cause physical issues for athletes. Anyone looking to incorporate kettlebells into the workout should learn these 7 safety basics first. Number 1, learn the correct technique before attempting any kettlebell exercise. So getting professional instruction is always recommended. Number 2, be aware of your surroundings. Choose a place where you, someone else, or a pet is unlikely to be in danger when swinging. Number 3, choose a surface that has little risk of damage if you were to drop the kettlebell. Number 4, if the kettlebell begins to fall and you lose control, get out of the way as quick as you can to let it drop without landing on any body part. Number 5, choose the right size kettlebell. It can vary depending on your body weight and strength, as well as it can differ per exercise. Number 6, treat the lighter weights as though they are heavy weights to condition your habit of focus and execution of the right technique. And number 7, as with all things in training, practice quality over quantity, because the risk of injury goes up if the latter is the emphasis. This is the anatomy of the kettlebell. This is the base, this is the bell, these are the horns, the corners, and the handle. Choose the right weight for your safety and injury prevention, so start light and work your way up. As well, you'll need the right weight if you're training to improve power and speed. Anywhere between 30 and 60% of your 1 RM is effective. Outside of that range will hurt the results that you're going for. Don't slack on your form. Doing the movements correctly is more important than doing them incorrectly with heavier weights. So check your ego so you can be ready for battle every day. The kettlebell swing is the best exercise that you can do to pattern the important hip hinge that you see in all athletic movements. It builds up explosive power, and if you do that, it's also going to condition your body in a way that no other exercise could. So I'm going to show you how to do it with great form so that you can get maximum benefit and stay safe. Now the kettlebell swing is going to really support you in your explosive power when you jump. So if you do an exercise like a broad jump, and I'm just going to demonstrate here, you'll see that I will hinge back into my hips and explode forward and land, and I come back down into that hip hinge. And that's exactly what your body's doing repetitively when you do a kettlebell swing, but it's without the pounding on your joints. So when you do the kettlebell swing, I want you to think about getting that same explosive power through your hips to be able to do a broad jump. More specifically, when you do the jump in this position, you want to think about being as tall as you can at the end of the position so your body is completely straight, your rib cage are stacked right on top of your hips. So to practice that, what I'm going to have you do, just to get the feeling, I want you to raise your arms up over your head, you're going to snap down, and then I want you to jump and land, okay? And then you're going to stand up. Now this time I want you to snap down and jump, but don't let your heels leave the ground. Again, snap down, jump, but don't let your heels leave the ground. And that's, again, essentially what you want to feel every time in that swing motion. Get a little pop in your hips, a little jitter in your body, and that's where that energy is going to really be able to transfer into your jump. We're going to start with the basic setup for the kettlebell swing. Now, to position yourself, you're going to be arm's distance away from the kettlebell before you start to swing it. So I position myself here, and then I'm going to have my feet pointed straight, maybe slightly turned out, which is totally fine. Everyone's body's differently, so some people can have their feet a little bit more turned out than others. I like to have mine a little bit more straight, but that's up to you. But you really want to be in a position that you feel the most explosive, as if you were to do a jump. Now from here, you're going to hinge down at the hips, you're going to reach out for that kettlebell, grab it with both hands, and then you're going to externally rotate your arms, and that's going to help to activate your lats. So we want to get those lats engaged because they help to stabilize your spine as you're doing this movement. From here, I'm going to explode this kettlebell between my legs, and I'm going to stand up tall as fast as I can. So here's how it's going to look. Back between the legs and set it down. So just practice that once, just so you get the feeling of exploding. The important thing is that initial explosion through your legs, because that creates an elastic component, a stretch reflex that allows you to slingshot up and get the most power. So start off, set the tone with a strong hike through your legs, and then stand up as quick as you can, as tall as you can. And now we're going to do that in a repetitive motion. So again, from here, I'm tipping that kettlebell, externally rotating the arms so those lats are engaged. I'm going to pull strongly between my legs, hike it up, snap down, snap, snap. So you're going to inhale down, exhale up. And then set it down soft. Now there's some finer points to the kettlebell swing that I want to show you right now that will help to reduce any sort of stress on your low back, and as well as going to help to give you a little bit more of the patterning effect that's going to mimic the jump. So watch as I swing this kettlebell. When I come down, you're going to notice that kettlebell does not drop below my knees. So that's really important to repeat over and over again. So I hike it strong, up, and I repeat that. And that's going to really help to load my glutes instead of my low back in the movement. Now, another thing I want you to notice is as I come up, there's a momentary float. The kettlebell kind of floats right there at the top, and you want to get that little moment of pause each and every time. Don't rush the movement. I want you to get full extension, feel that, and then get some overspeed with your arms coming down. Another tip to enhance the patterning of the hip hinge is to use your body correctly to work together in the swing. So as I come up, I'm staying active in my hips. I'm pushing my hips forward, and when the kettlebell's up top, I'm driving it down. So I'm active with my hips up, and I'm active with my arms coming down. And if you just repeat that over and over again, that's going to really help to pattern that technique, and then it's not going to really matter what weight you use. You can keep going up as long as you maintain that important form and technique. In closing, I want you to think about using the kettlebell swing to enhance your power and speed. So this movement is meant to be explosive, not at a slow speed at any time. And use your breath, use your breathing to help to enhance and bring out that power inside of you. So when you are exploding up, I want you to forcefully exhale and then inhale on the way down, and just keep that repeated pattern. Take it 1 rep at a time, and that's how you're gonna really maximize every single swing. Once you feel comfortable with doing a swing with 2 hands, then it's time to progress to doing it with 1 hand. The good news is that it mimics the same exact motion, so all you have to do is follow along. I'm gonna take you through the steps, get you set up, and you're on your way. To start, we always wanna be arm's distance away from the kettlebell to begin with. Have your feet in a distance that you would normally jump out of. Hinge down at the hips, grab the kettlebell with both hands, and then you're just gonna slide 1 hand off. And you're gonna basically trail the movement of the kettlebell with the opposite hand that's not moving. So it's important that you stay strong in your hips as you hike it, come up to the same motion. You'll notice that my opposite arm is just trailing along. Everything else looks exactly the same as if I was using 2 hands. And then I'm gonna switch at the top. And then set it down. And what I want you to notice is a snap in my hips and my knees as I come up. It should be explosive, even though you have 1 arm attached to that kettlebell. What's awesome about the single arm swing is it adds an anti-rotational component. So as you notice I come down, the idea is to sit back into my hips equally throughout the entire time. And that's a really important athletic feature to have. In closing, for the single arm swing, once you start to feel comfortable with that, that's gonna set you up for the progressions of doing a single arm clean, snatch, and a lot of other great movements with 1 arm. So take your time, refine your form and technique with 1 arm before you progress to the next step. The kettlebell swing clean is an excellent way to build power and strength in your entire body. I'm going to show you how to do it with great form and technique so that you can get the most benefit. To start off, you want to be about arm's distance away from that kettlebell. Position your feet at about hip distance, whatever position you like to feel the most explosive when you jump. That's always a good starter point. From here, you're going to hinge down back into your hips, reach out for that kettlebell, tip it. From here, you're gonna hike it between your legs with force, and then from here, you're gonna hike it, pull it straight up your body, and land with a very solid platform in this position. And then from here, you're gonna notice I'm gonna windmill the kettlebell back, down, and throw it between my legs. So it looks like this. And then to switch sides, swing it, grab it, straight up to the other side. So you notice I pull this straight up my body. It's not going out in front of me like it would with a swing or a snatch. Straight up and back down. Another important thing to realize about the kettlebell swing clean is it's important to refine that movement so that you can better get into exercises like presses. And that's gonna support you in being efficient so that you have more energy for that press. The kettlebell snatch is one of the best exercises that you can do to pattern the explosive movement that you need to improve your vertical jump. And I'm going to show you how to do it with perfect technique. To set yourself up for the snatch, I want you to position your feet about the same width that you would have if you were to do a vertical jump. For me, it's about hip distance apart. Now, once I'm in this position, I want to start with arm's distance away from that kettlebell. I'm going to hinge down. I'm going to grab it with one hand. The other hand is just going to be off to the side. And I'm pushing back into my hips. And what I'm going to do is I'm tipping that kettlebell, and that's going to set me in a good position to hike it between my legs. And as I hike it between my legs, I'm going to explode up and bring it over my head. So follow along here. Hike, up. Now again, from this position, my rib cage is stacked right on top of my hips. I'm in a straight line. The arm is next to my ear. My wrist is straight. And now from here, I'm going to bring it down between my legs to get an overspeed and load the hips. So watch as I bring it down and I explode up. So something I want you to watch is as I bring it up, I'm going to punch through the kettlebell as it starts to spin. And that's going to help me to get a nice cushion on the back of my wrist. So here we go. Down. Now to switch sides, you're going to bring that kettlebell down between your legs and you're going to switch hands like this. You switch hands here and you continue the movement. Down between your legs, punch, catch. Here. Now from here, I want you to notice the snap in my hips as I explode up. Come down. So this movement is more of a hinge rather than a squat. So make sure that you're clearing the hips with more bend in the hips and less bend in the knee. Now as I bring this kettlebell down, you'll notice that it does not drop below the knees. So when you do this swing, don't let it drop below your knees. So it should look like this from the side. The shoulder press is one of the best exercises you can do to build upper body strength. And I'm about to show you how to do it with perfect form using a kettlebell so that you get the most benefit. To start off, we want to be able to get that kettlebell up to our shoulder, so I'm going to show you how to do that safely. You're going to reach down, grab that kettlebell with one hand, and you're going to use your legs to explosively pull it up so that it's resting on your chest and on the back of your wrist. In this position, my wrist is straight and my elbow is a little bit out to the side to create a little bit of a cushion. Now from here, I want to have the rib cage stacked right on top of the hips so that my posture is good. I'm using my core as a platform, the ground as a platform, and my lat as a platform to push up from. So I'm going to take a breath in, and on the exhale, I press up overhead, and then I'm going to actively pull it back down into that same position. So I inhale down, exhale up, and then set it down. Make sure that you use your body to your benefit. Again, use the ground as your platform, very stable surface. Use your abdominals, use your lats. You want to really explode from those three areas to get the most strength and power And that's what's going to give you the most benefit. So again, starting from the ground, you're going to use your legs to explosively pull it up to your chest. Make sure your wrist is straight. You have equal weight on both feet. Your rib cage is stacked on top of your hips. Inhale, exhale, press. Now you notice that when I press it up, that my arm is next to my ear. My body's forming a straight line, and then I'm going to pull it back down into position. Inhale, exhale, press. Now as far as that cadence with your breathing, inhale down, exhale up. Inhale down, exhale up. And then set it down. The Goblet Squat exercise is a great teaching tool to pattern the squat, and I'm going to show you how to do it with perfect technique. So pay attention to the little details that I show you, from foot positioning to spinal positioning and to where you should be feeling this in your body. To start off, position your feet so they're about shoulder distance apart. They could be in line with your armpits, they could be just a little bit to the outside. Every individual is different, so you got to experiment with that to find out what the best width is for your feet. So I'm going to start off in the shoulder distance position, and I'm going to squat down, and I'm going to grab the horns of the kettlebell to pick it up. So I'm using my legs and my arms to bring it up. And now once I'm in this position, you can see I'm underneath the ball of the kettlebell, and the handle is pushed into my chest. Now I'm going to use that handle as a little bit of a feedback mechanism so I can push my chest up into that handle as I lower myself down. So as I lower myself down, I'm going to keep my elbows right underneath that kettlebell, and I'm going to touch the inside of my elbows to the inside of my knees. And now I'm going to pause here just for a moment. I'm not resting. And to stand up, I'm going to get a little breath in, and stand up. Now in this position, make sure that you are standing with a straight body. You're not arching back. So you keep your rib cage stacked over your hips. Pull yourself down, and you want to stop right before your tailbone tucks under. If you go this low and your tailbone tucks under, you're not going to really get good access of your glutes. So you might stop here, and that's okay. The elbows are right inside the knees. From here, stand up, return down, and you notice that my hips are back. I'm not allowing my knees to come forward or my heels to come off the ground. My heels stay down on the ground. I punch my chest up, stand up tall, and now when I'm finished, I set that down between my legs. Another way to pick up the kettlebell and to hold it in the squat position is holding it from the horn position the entire time. So I'm going to show you how to get it up from that position. You're going to actually start off in a little bit of a swing position, tipping that kettlebell back. You're going to hike it between your legs, and then you bring it up. Now, I'm pinching my elbows in, I'm holding the horns, I'm in a tall position, and then I'm going to squat down from here and come up. The entire time, I'm doing my best to maintain a straight spine, sit back into my hips, elbows right inside the knees, and stand up. Now, one of the great things about the goblet squat is that this acts as a counterbalance, so you can better sit back into your hips instead of loading the knees, which a lot of people do while they're in the goblet squat. All the power is in your hips, so you want to really focus on generating that power from your heels up. If you have time to only do one exercise, it's going to be the Turkish GetUp. Why? Because it builds total body strength. It teaches your body to work better together as a unit. And for that reason, it's an excellent exercise to start off your workout to get everything engaged and on board. It's also a great way to get connected to your body, so you can actually use it as a way to determine if you have asymmetries, where you have better strength on one side or better mobility on one side than the other, and you get to work that and improve that through the Turkish GetUp. The Turkish GetUp also is excellent for building slow strength, which is an important component of being an athlete. To have that strength, it takes away any momentum. It works out and discovers, magnifies all the imbalances of strength throughout the range of motion. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take you through the exercise step by step. It's a very complex move when you're first learning it, but as you get through it, and you practice more and more, it becomes more second nature. But it is important in the very beginning to take your time and work each component, because each component actually sets you up to do the next step even better. To get into position, I'm going to have you lie on your side. Okay, so the positioning is important even to start. So as you can see, I'm lying directly on my side. My spine is straight. I'm going to grab that kettlebell. I'm going to put my bottom arm underneath. Top hand goes over top. I'm going to pull my elbows in towards my rib cage. Now what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to use a roll onto my back to engage the core. And that's important because you're taking advantage of every opportunity to build strength. But before we go, I want you to use this position here to keep a straight wrist. I want you to get your wrist in this position, make sure it's not bent so it's straight. And once you start off in that way, it's easier to keep that throughout the exercise, which is what I want you to do. So watch me as I roll onto my side, onto my back. My knees and the kettlebell are gonna leave the ground at the same time, and that's how I know my whole body's working better together. So I'm gonna take a breath in, and on the exhale, I'm gonna roll onto my back, feet are flat. I'm pressing that kettlebell up with both hands right over my chest. From here, I'm gonna take my right arm, I'm gonna bring it down so it's at a 45-degree angle, and I'm going to straighten that same side leg. So they're out about almost at the same angle. Once you're on your back and you have the arm locked out, the wrist straight, now you're ready for the next step. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the bent knee foot to drive your body over to the right so you end up onto the forearm. So I'm rooting this foot down and I'm pushing myself over until I end up onto the forearm. So you'll notice from here that my arm is perpendicular. I'm going to keep that perpendicular. So from this down position up onto the forearm, this is going to stay perpendicular just like that. Now from there, you're going to take that bottom arm, you're going to straighten that elbow. Keep your eyes on the kettlebell as you press your hips up, and you're going to loop this leg through so you're on one knee, and you're going to come into this lunge position. You're going to rotate that back foot, and then from here, you're going to use that front leg to stand straight up, and then step back down, and you're just going to reverse the move. Keep your eye on the kettlebell as you go straight to the side. Press your hips up so you can loop that leg through. Slow and controlled down onto the forearm, and then slow and controlled onto your back. To bring it down, you're going to take your opposite hand, put it on top, bend the knee, bring it down to your chest, and then you're going to roll onto your side in the same way that you came up. Now to switch sides, instead of trying to flip it over your head, you're actually going to keep it on the ground. You're going to drag it on the ground and twist the other side and repeat the same steps. Where the bottom arm is underneath the kettlebell, top arm is right on top, the top hand is on top. I got my wrist straight. From here, I'm going to lock my body together. The kettlebell and my knees are going to leave the ground at the same time as I roll onto my back. Press up. Okay, from here, arm goes down at 45 degrees, the same side leg straightens out. elbows locked, wrists is straight. So I'm good to go from here. So now that I'm in this set position, I'm gonna use the bent knee foot to push myself over to the left. So I'm rooting this foot down, and I'm gonna look to my left as I come up. So once I'm onto my forearm, now I'm gonna straighten the arm out, keep the top arm perpendicular to the ground. I'm gonna press my hips up using my glutes and my core. I'm gonna loop that leg through onto my knee, at the same time keeping this arm perpendicular to the ground. Rotate that back foot out. From here, I'm gonna use that front leg to stand straight up. And then I'm just gonna reverse. As I go down, I'm gonna keep my eye on the kettlebell, keep it perpendicular, loop that leg through, come down slow and controlled, down onto the forearm, and then slowly decelerate onto your back. Bend the knee, take that top hand, that opposite hand, place it on top, pull it down to your chest, and then you're gonna roll over onto your side. For the Turkish GetUp, I recommend starting off with a very light weight. Even better yet, start off with taking your shoe and put the sole of your shoe right on the top of your hand and balance that, and that will give you a very good feedback mechanism to make sure that your arm is staying perpendicular. And if you really want to get daring, you can take a cup of water and put it right on top of your fist and balance that, and that will definitely keep you focused. Thanks for checking out my guide to kettlebell basics. I hope you found it helpful and can use these tips and techniques in your own practice. And in case you'd like to revisit anything, I've included link timestamps in the description below, along with links to my site, blog, and social channels where you can access more content and learn about my training programs. Remember, the only way to be an athlete for life is by preventing injury and being committed and consistent. You can't sustain your regular workouts if you get hurt. So as always, I encourage you to challenge yourself, but do so as safely as possible.